Sitting just a couple hours north of San Francisco, Napa Valley was a place where life seemed untouchable by violence. Miles of vineyards rolling like green oceans under the California sun. Palm trees caught the last rays of daylight. Couples clinked glasses of wine. Honeymooners posed in the golden glow, and neighbors waved as they walked their dogs. Napa was supposed to be the American dream, safe, quiet, and untouchable. Napa wasn't just a place to live. It was a dream, safe and quiet. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. On Halloween night in 2004, that dream was fractured. Inside a small suburban home on Dorset Street, 2 young women were brutally murdered. The quiet, the beauty, the safety, it all dissolved into fear, sirens and sorrow. And in the aftermath, Napa would never see itself the same way again. This is When Darkness Falls, where we shine a light on cases and refuse to let them fade into memory. Stories that echo through the time, reminding us that even the most beautiful places, shadows can linger. Tonight we begin with Napa Valley Halloween Massacre, because when darkness falls, the truth doesn't stay buried. Now this is a story of Leslie and Mazzara Adriane Insogna, 2 26-year-old women chasing careers, friendships, and stability, only have their lives stolen in the dead of night. The third roommate is Meanza. She survived to tell the tale. A case that began in horror, dragged through the year of misery, and ended in one of the most shocking revelations Napa has ever faced. So let's begin with Leslie. She was born in South Carolina, raised by a single mother with 2 older half-brothers. Leslie's life was full of ambition, sparkle, and possibility. She had grown up with dreams of being a teacher, a nurse, even Miss America. And she wasn't far off. Leslie was crowned Miss Williamston and even competed in Miss South Carolina pageant. By 2004, she had moved west, down to California's wine country. She found work at Francis Ford Copple winery, greeting tourists and celebrities with her charm. After a difficult breakup, Leslie was ready for a new chapter, a career, stability, maybe love again someday. To friends, she was bubbly, majestic, the kind of woman who walked into the room and caught everyone's attention. Adriane, her path was different. Born and raised in Calistoga, about 45 minutes north of Napa, she was rooted in her community. A near-fatal car accident at 16 had once nearly taken her life. But Adriane, she's a fighter. She recovered with resilience and amazed everyone around her. She studied at civil engineering at California's Polytechnic, graduating in 2001. And by 2004, she had secured a position with Napa Sanitation District as an assistant engineer. Smart, grounded, and loyal, Adriane balanced hard work with friendships. She was also best friends with Prudhomme, an important connection that would later change everything. Together, Adriane and Leslie shared a rental home on Dorset Street, a quiet suburban stretch with manicured lawns, porch lights glowing on Halloween night. Their third roommate, Meanza, lived in a downstairs bedroom. She was 27, a volleyball coach, steady and dependable, living life at a calmer pace than the chaos of San Francisco nightlife. The house had no history of trouble. The closest thing to a drama was just a few nights earlier when Leslie brought home a boyfriend in the middle of the night, waking her roommates. But by Halloween, all was back to normal. October 31st, 2004, the 3 women spent the evening like so many others across America, handing out candy, seeing the trick-or-treaters' smiles, seeing the kids' costumes parade up and down the street. But by 11 p.m., the porch light was clicked off. The candy bowl was empty. One by one, the women turned in for the night. But around 2 in the morning, everything changed. Lauren awoke downstairs to an unmistakable sound of glass breaking. At first she thought that it might be the cat that knocked something over, but then she heard it, heavy footsteps, moving quickly, and then blood-curdling screams from upstairs.
This is 911 emergency. What are you reporting?
Oh my God, we got attacked.
Who attacked you?
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
Most of my roommates are hurt. Oh my God. I think they're dying. I just swear to God. Do you know who might have done this? Oh God. One unconscious down, and then the other one was bleeding, but she was saying, help me, please help me. I didn't know what to do. I'm driving around.
Wait, you're not back in the house?
No, I got in my car and left. I don't know what to do.
Frozen in terror, Lauren listened. The screams belonged to Adriane, saying, please, God, help me. Somebody help me. Her voice was raw, desperate. Footsteps pounded down the staircase. Lauren's instinct told her she was next. She slipped out the back door and into the yard, hiding in the darkness, her heart hammering as she prayed not to be discovered. Moments later, she heard the intruder of the night. Only then did she move. Inside, the horror was beyond words. Leslie lay face down in a pool of blood nearby, nearly 2 inches deep. Adriane was crouched near the bed, barely alive, bleeding heavily, struggling to breathe. Police cars, evidence vans, hushed neighbors standing in disbelief. Word spread quickly. Napa had just suffered their first double homicide in years. Detectives sealed off the scene. Evidence markers dotted the staircase, the bedrooms, the shattered window, and the walls that splattered with blood. And already there were trouble signs. The killer had left behind his own blood in the struggle. So whoever he was, he hadn't escaped unscathed. For a community that prided itself in peace and safety, neighbors who had seen these women passing out candy just hours earlier were now terrified. Some whispers about a stalker. Others wondered if it was a robbery gone wrong. From the very beginning, suspected something much darker. Within 24 hours, disbelief gave way to fear.
Our life was changed. I'd lost my friends, my roommates, and I'd been left untouched. I asked, what do people in my situation generally do? People don't generally survive in this situation. They're usually killed too.
It meant trust has been violated, safety shattered, and the worst of all, the killer is still out there. Investigators began close to home. The first priority was to map the lives of Leslie Adriane, who they knew and who they loved and who might want them harmed. Now, Adriane's boyfriend, Kristen, he was questioned immediately. Police collected his knife, bed sheets, clothing, and blood samples. His relationship with Adriane had been strained. Arguments about commitment, jealousy, even talk about her meeting someone new. He was a strong early suspect, but DNA ruled him out. His blood did not match the samples on the scene. Then came Leslie's past, a beauty queen with a wide circle of admirers. She had dated several men, some older, some generous to a point of obsession. One had bought her a car. Another had sent her flowers that infuriated the rivals. Rumors swirled, jealousy, revenge, even ties to the organized crime. But one by one, DNA cleared them all out. 200 men, in fact, were tested. None were the killer.
The pain is just excruciating.
I could not accept that someone wanted to kill my child. Someone hated her and wanted her gone.
And she did not go down lightly.
She was a fighter. She was a scrappy girl. She would have fought very, very hard. And I hope she heard him.
I can only imagine her fear.
Somebody would have had to notice a friend of theirs acting strange or had bruises. It doesn't seem like somebody could just walk away from it and be fine. Somebody must have seen something. Somebody out there knows something.
The evidence had to. Detectives turned to science. Blood spatter patterns were studied to reconstruct the night. The physics of droplets told a grim story. Leslie was struck first, likely in her sleep. Adriane fighting back, her defensive wounds showed she tried desperately to fend off her attacker. Blood found in the window blinds confirmed that the killer had injured himself while breaking in or escaping. 3 different blood types identified Leslie, Adriane, and the unknown intruder. The DNA was now on file. All they needed was to make a match. Then came the smallest clue, almost overlooked at first. Outside the home, near the garage, police collected several cigarette butt smoke down to the filter. They were an unusual brand, Camel Turkish Gold, only recently released on the market. Saliva from the butts matched the killer's DNA, so the intruder had stood outside the house that night, chain smoking, building courage, or rehearsing his plan, leaving behind the very clue that would one day unravel the mystery. In 2004, police kept the facts quiet, too quiet. Had they released it earlier, perhaps the case would have cracked wide open. Instead, months went by, with no arrest, no suspects, and the city simmering in fear. By mid-2005, nearly a year after the murder, frustration mounted.
The lead had been followed up, and there were no leads. They could not figure it out.
Police were frustrated. Certainly the victims' families were frustrated.
People were genuinely afraid that the killer might strike again.
Over 1,300 interviews conducted, more than 200 DNA samples taken, and still no match. Napa police faced criticism for holding back key details. Families of Leslie and Adriane clung to hope, but hope was fading. And then in September 2005, police finally revealed the cigarette clue to the public. They announced they were looking for a man who chain-smoked Camel Turkish Gold. It was a gamble. Would anyone recognize a smoker? Would the killer himself hear it? As it turned out, he sure did. September 2005, 11 months had passed since the murders. For nearly a year, Napa lived under a cloud of suspicion and grief, but when the police went public with a cigarette clue, a brand of Camel Turkish Gold, the ripple it caused was immediate. Days later, and this man, his name was Eric Matthew Copple. At first, few could even place his name, Eric. He had no criminal record, no arrest, not even a traffic violation. He was quiet, shy, known more for gardening and small construction projects than any hint of violence. But his connection cut deep. Eric was married to Lily. Lily wasn't just anyone. She was Adriane's friend, best friend, gym partner, and co-worker. Adriane had shared her struggles, her dreams, even planned a trip to Australia with Lily. And through Lily, Eric had been inside the Dorset house many times. He had mingled together in gatherings, celebrated milestones, shared space with every woman he would later slaughter. On a Tuesday night in late September, Eric walked into the Napa Police Department with his wife, Lily. For 5 hours, he spoke to detectives. He admitted that no one wanted to believe. He was the intruder on that Halloween night.
And I was not at all prepared for the answer to that question.
I was stunned, and I said, Lily's husband? It's like I'm hearing it, but am I hearing the right thing? I thought of him as part of Adriane's intimate circle of friends, the same circle of friends that had been supporting me through this difficult time.
I was just shaking and I was very upset. When I got off the phone, that's when it really kind of hit me and I lost it.
Right away, I was wondering how he could possibly have been overlooked.
Eric had not been interviewed by the police, even though he was part of the circle of friends.
He was on a list at one point to be interviewed. I don't recall why it didn't happen.
He had pried open the window, crept upstairs, and unleashed a violence that took Leslie and Adriane's lives. Eric claimed he had been drinking heavily that night. He had blacked out, had no memory of the attack. He does remember leaving his home with a knife, remembered smoking outside the woman's house. But when pressed about the stabbings, he insisted his mind had went blank. Investigators didn't buy it. Eric had destroyed evidence, burned his clothes, disposed of the knife, hidden his tracks. This is not a behavior of a man unaware of his actions. This was calculation. And yet, the question that haunted everyone remained, why? Adriane's mother, Arlene, voiced what so many felt. The burning question is why. What caused him to lose control and commit these horrible murders?
That is the burning question. Why? What caused him to commit these horrible murders?
It appeared that some people, and possibly Adriane, were telling Lily that she could do better. She shouldn't be any longer involved in this relationship with Eric Copple, that he wasn't good enough for her or right for her.
Lily seems to come alive when she's with Adriane, and I think he felt threatened.
Adriane and Lily had planned a trip to Australia together, and so he was just deathfully afraid of losing her. So his answer was, kill the one that's in the way of my happiness with Lily. Kill the problem.
Theories emerged. Eric was resentful of Adriane's closeness to Lily, fearing it pulled his wife away from him. Others believed it was pent-up rage, jealousy, or control. Eric's own words, claiming memory lapse, insisting he couldn't explain his violence, left more mystery than answers. What was clear was the devastation he left behind. Eric's arrest sent shockwaves through Napa. Families of victims braced themselves for the trial, months, if not years, of painful testimony. But in December 2006, 2 years after the murders, Eric pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder. This plea spared him the death penalty, but guaranteed life in prison without parole. For some, it was relief. For others, it felt like justice had been stolen from them. No full trial, no chance to confront every detail of what happened. In court, the voices that mattered most belonged to the families. Adriane's mother, Arlene, addressed Eric directly. She said, "Eric, you knew Adriane. You knew me, and I know you. You are a man who violently stabbed to death the best friend of a woman you loved. This is not love, Eric. You cannot love Lily and bring a knife into Adriane's home and stab her again and again and again."
You knew Adriane. She counted you among her friends. You are a man who violently stabbed to death the best friend of the woman you love. You cannot love Lily and bring a knife into Adriane's home and stab her again and again and again. While in the coming years, the memory of Leslie and of Adriane will remain clear and shining bright in our hearts, I will think of you no more.
Leslie's mother, Kathy, spoke of her daughter's light, her ambitions, her role as a gift to everyone who knew her. Her grief was palpable, but so was her strength.
Leslie's life speaks for itself. I'm so grateful that I got to be her mom and that she brightened our lives. She was a gift.
And then, perhaps the most shocking of all, Lily herself stood before the court.
My heart goes out to both Arlene and Kathy, and to the rest of their families and friends. Eric, there is nothing in this world that you could do to make me love you less.
I told myself that there was no way that I could know what she was going through. There is no way I could put myself in her position. I think that Lily was like another sister to Adriane. She could not have even suspected that her husband was involved with that.
Finally, Eric spoke. His words were subdued.
The voice doesn't work. I am a broken man. Oh, sucks. The words evade me to articulate the depths of my sorrow.
I did believe that he was truly remorseful. Those were real tears that he was crying, but not for us. I believe he was crying for himself.
He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today he remains at the Pleasant Valley State Prison in California. When the gavel fell in December 2006, it closed the case in the legal sense. Eric would never walk free again. But for Napa, for the families, for Lauren, there would be no true closure, only pieces of life before and the reality of life forever changed. Lauren, the survivor, carries scars no court could heal. She had to live through those sounds, the screams, the blood-soaked floor. She returned to a life where every creak of a floorboard, every sudden noise carried echoes of the Halloween night. Her courage was in surviving, in moving forward when memory itself became a battlefield.
It's hard to go to sleep, and it's hard to be quiet when everything goes quiet and it's dark. That's when everything comes back every night. It was the weirdest feeling ever. I didn't want anyone to touch me. My mom would try to console me a little bit. I'm like, don't touch me. Connection to the ones we've loved in this lifetime. And I tell the girls this every day, like, I will never forget them. I'll never forget kind of what they had to go through.
For Adriane's family, each holiday, each empty chair at the table is a reminder of the daughter they lost. A joy she brought into the world. These were the legacies her mother and father keep alive. For Leslie's family, the pain is just as deep. Kathy remembered her daughter not as a victim, but as a bright star, a woman with ambition, charisma, and a gift for making people feel seen. Their stories in Napa's cautionary tale, beauty and violence, hope and horror, joy and grief, woven together as one of the most haunting crimes in California has ever known. Even in the darkest stories, we carry forward the facts that remain. Please subscribe to When Darkness Falls and carry them with us. We care, so please stay aware for your surroundings. Well, the next case is calling, guys. Bye for now.